Hey pals, it's me Artie, then pronouns only. Our video this week, I guess we'll see what happens really, but I wanted to talk about Thunderbolts. Okay? Thunderbolts. Is it Marvel? I don't know. I simply do not care. The superhero movie, the new Avengers, that thing, that one. Because I did go and see it in the cinema. I know. I saw it in the cinema with two whole other people, maybe three, at my local indie cinema, which is another reason why I love my local indie cinema. If you've got a local indie cinema near you, go and use it. Please go and use it, because my tickets are £8, which is higher than they used to be, but £8 versus what, 20, 15, 20 in most mainstream cinemas, maybe even more for some. Eight's not bad. So I enjoyed this film quite a lot. I really enjoyed myself. I rewatched it because it's come out on the streaming services now. I feel like it had almost all of the elements needed for a good film, but for me, the plot and the pacing were a bit of an issue. I understand basically Thunderbolts is kind of like a prequel in a way. It's sort of like, or it'll be number one of like a series. It's setting up the things we need to understand for a series. It's setting up a bunch of characters and their relationships with each other. It's like I get the purpose. I just don't necessarily think they did it well. And I don't know the background or history of most of the characters in this film. I don't know anything about their history film or TV show wise. I don't know their history in the comic books or anything like that. I don't know shit. I do not know shit. I only like certain superhero films and TV shows. There are a lot of them I just really don't like. So I'm coming to, I don't know, I guess talk about this film from a very non-fan POV. Sorry, my hair is fucking me off. It really is forehead McGee today. So I'm very much a newbie to the Avengers in general. I didn't ever want to watch the Avengers. Honestly, I like Spider-Man. I like Deadpool. I liked X-Men. I watched a little bit of Iron Man. I think I watched the first film in uni for one of my film or media modules. I was devastated Birds of Prey did not get a follow-up film. Suicide Squad was literally the worst thing I've seen in my fucking life. And I didn't watch the follow-up, forgot that there was, I didn't know there was a follow-up that was called The Suicide Squad. Whoever named those two films, get a new job. I used to watch the Flash TV show, but then it got too repetitive and was really boring. And generally I don't care that much for anything else in superhero land, really. However, I do like Florence Pugh. I do like Florence Pugh. She's kind of one of my current favorites to watch almost everything of, because she has a film repertoire that honestly does not generally appeal to me. But I do really like her acting and her performance. So I've started to watch some of them. I still haven't watched Little Women, though. Florence Pugh is the reason I went and saw this film. To be fair, I started off by going to watch the Black Widow film, because I was like, oh, okay, this seems to be like a bit of background that I kind of need to actually watch to understand vibes. And even when I did that, there were still some things, obviously, in Thunderbolts I didn't really fully get because I simply have not watched the Avengers films. So I kind of just had to guess the gist of it. But so yeah, I did watch the Black Widow film to get an idea of what was going on for Florence Pugh's character, Yelena, before stepping into this group of characters that all have their own individual backgrounds and stories, etc. Some that have been shared in recent years on film and TV, some I don't know, maybe not. Some maybe not. Particularly when Black Widow, you know, all of them had that same background. So it was at least one way of kind of easing me into like the vibes. And honestly, Yelena is one of, like, I would say she's basically the main character of Thunderbolts. Like, everything really mainly centers her. We still follow her through all of this stuff. We follow her as a paid mercenary. We kind of are seeing everybody through her eyes more than anything else. And she's kind of the character that breaks out of the box of what you expect their characters to be like. So, you know, she's the character that goes, wait a second, something's not right here. Are we all here trying to kill each other? And then it's like, this is a terrible idea when you don't trust people, but otherwise we're all fucking dead anyway. So, hey, Ava, we're gonna fuck up whatever it is that prevents you from going through the walls so you can go through the walls and let us all out. It only works in her favor by accident, but you know, it is what it is. So, though, you know, she's kind of the character who is coming up with plot moving choices all the way through the film. You know, like even towards the end when she jumps into the void, she's the first one to do that. Nobody else did that until she did it, and then they were like, well, we got to do it. Anyway, reverse a little bit. I've kind of skipped over some of my original, like, starting off points. My main issue with the Avengers as well as Black Widow is just that I don't like Scarlett Johansson's acting. Johansson, not a clue, mate. I don't know. I don't like her. I don't like her acting at all. I know that there's also some arguments about what she was allowed to do or allowed to be in like the Avengers films, because it was the era of like women can't have personalities, you know, like I get it. They did the same thing to Jessica Alba in the first Fantastic Five movie, which I also have watched and forgot that I watched because it's so old and has been remade twice more now apparently. So I would like to see the new one. I don't know when though. I don't know when that's going to happen. But I've seen her in other films in a variety of genres, and I just don't. I think her acting's kind of shit, honestly. So it's no different to when she's in Avengers or playing Black Widow. So, you know, in my opinion, yeah, she sucks. I don't care. So, you know, I just had to ignore a lot of the Black Widow film because I just don't like her. I did also then watch Hawkeye, the show, because I was just so curious. Also, a bunch of context that I did not understand because I've not watched the Avengers films. You know, him and Black Widow apparently being besties. The only thing I remember is apparently that actor is a piece of shit, so that's good to know. Can't remember why, but I'll have to look at that in editing to double check. But yeah, I heard Yelena was in that, plus that show was also really like surprisingly diverse. You know, he himself, Hawkeye, is hard of hearing. That's the phrase that they use in the show. There was also the deaf amputee native superhero, whose name I can't remember at the moment. I think there were some other things as well, but it's been a few months since I watched that, so don't remember exactly, but anything else I will include in post. And also apparently that show's not getting renewed because they weren't going to pay the lead the same amount of money as they paid him for season 1, which, like, fair enough, honestly. So, like, to me, I don't know, I find a lot of the typical superhero vibe of, what are they, DC and Marvel, just kind of boring, honestly, just kind of boring. Just not interesting to me at all. Batman is so boring. I've tried watching numerous Batman films. I hate all of them. Can't see anything in any of them. I don't care how many times people want to tell me Christian Bale was really good. I really don't care. I really don't care. The film was not good enough, in my opinion. But I've always had much more of an interest in things like, like I said, X-Men, Deadpool, Spider-Man, things that have a mixture of like a hint of a particular kind of like humor style, I guess, with a particular selection of main characters. Like bro, I've said it in the past. No idea what video, because I never ended up making the follow up that I wanted to make at the time when I was having another Spider-Man hyperfixation. But like, no matter what Spider-Man you want to talk about, they are all autistic, ADHD as fuck. Like, I love that shit. I love that shit. Deadpool's the same, but also he's like not a good guy. He's a mercenary as well, right? But he's also canonically queer. I'm always got by the canonically queers. Around this time last year, I was reading the Spider-Man and Deadpool comics, but then I stopped because one of them is formatted so badly for e-readers that it was impossible to read. RIP. I feel like both of those don't really take themselves that seriously. I also love the idea of Spider-Man in particular, where, they've got the Spider-Verse. Anything goes. Every headcanon that you could come up with for Spider-Man basically confirmed real, because the Spider-Verse exists. Every headcanon you ever had for Spider-Man, real. Love that. I love the creative freedom of, what? Everything is real. Everything could be real. These are what we're showing you, but anything else could also be real. And I really enjoy Yelena because she is so autistic, man. Like, I really cannot deny it. But also, I think the relationship she has with God, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Alexei, I think, is created so well that they really are just so, like, even though they are not related and keep going back and forth about whether they actually want to pretend and be family, they act like father-daughter. He is so embarrassing and she is so embarrassed. And like, I don't know, I just love her little, like, she has such great little comments that I think are so great for fandom fodder. There was definitely a few things in Black Widow, but the one that I can remember the most was about her little jacket she bought, and then ended up giving to Black Widow. And she's just talking about this jacket she bought secondhand. It was super cheap and she loves it. It looks great and it's the perfect jacket or vest or whatever. It's got so many pockets, and like, I just love her. Okay, I just love her. She's just like me for real. Also, that's why I also love Hobie Brown, because alternative punk music vibes and art style, to then also being excruciatingly anti-capitalist. Like, is it really that surprising which ones I like? Oh, you like women being cool and gays being cool and neurodivergent people being cool. I'm so transparent. And yeah, I mean, I think as well, the other characters, come on, in the new Avengers are very neurodivergent vibes as well. Like Bob is so like, I find it hard to pick which, but like, he definitely has that definitely the heavy ADHD golden retriever himbo energy, especially considering he's actually fucking ripped. He gives lanky boy vibes when he's dressed without his clothes on. The vibes are different. He's fucking ripped. I think as well, the connection Yelena has with Bob, chef's kiss, because as well, like, we're seeing her in this film especially experiencing and going through and struggling with depression. She has no purpose in life. She's very depressed. She's drinking too much. She has nothing to do. And even she says, you know, I just come home and just scroll on my phone. I do nothing with my life. All I do is go to work, kill people, come home and scroll on my phone. Same. And as we see in those void rooms later on as well, we see some of those aspects that we didn't actually get to see chronologically. So we see her passed out on the bathroom floor with vodka bottles around her. We see some of the things that she's had to do as a child when, you know, she was kidnapped and turned into a killing machine, basically. And, you know, she doesn't have other options for work because the only thing she has been able to do or been allowed to do is basically be a killer slasher retriever. Golden retriever, you know? So, like, she's only been allowed to track people, track things, collect, return to the people paying her, and or murdering people, whether they're just in collateral damage, gotten in the way, or they were a specific target. She doesn't want to do that, but that's all she can fucking do. Whereas when it comes to her father, he would die for her job. But he has at least managed to make himself some kind of business by being some kind of weird limo driver. Basically, like, this whole film is just about how everybody in this final, what, the six new Avengers are all just going through like a really shitty time. I will say, however, I feel like we did not actually get the same amount of depth for Ava's character, and I think that is because, you know, we got to hear all about, God, what the fuck was his name? John. We got to hear all about John Walker's life and how he's been a really shitty father. We saw a little bit about him having previously been the official Captain America for like 2.5 seconds before killing somebody. Again, those things I don't really know the full details of. Don't know if I'm supposed to, but that happened. We've got Bucky, who I also only vaguely know some details about because I know Bucky and Starsky. Is that it? Gay. That's all I know. So all I know is the ship is gay, the head canon is gay. But either way, he's working as a politician. He's working as a politician, is completely miserable, doesn't want to do it like this, doesn't want to play the politician's game, because even though he is kind of like, I don't know, seemingly aligning with, again, this man whose name I can't remember, who is another politician, I don't know. Again, American politics adds some confusion to some of this storyline for me as well, because I thought this man was a judge the first time I watched it, or at least for the first half of it. I don't know, but I guess he's a politician as well. And anyway, he's trying to have some kind of like alignment with him to get rid of this lady whose name I also can't remember because she sucks. But his way is like the superhero way, and the other guy's like, we got to do it this way, and he's like, I don't want to do it that way. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the politician. I don't want to do that. So, you know, he doesn't want to be a politician. And also, I guess we don't know where Starsky is, or I don't, but I know they were besties. So I think he's lonely. I think he's all alone on his own. That poor girl that Yelena knew, whose name I also can't remember, dead first 10 seconds. R.I.P. Terrible. I really wish that hadn't happened. I really wish she could have been in the plot somehow and like been in further plots. She will now no longer feature in any plots. R.I.P. I mean, we've talked about Yelena's past, or like where she's at in her life. We've talked a little bit about where Alexei is. He is also just generally, you know, lonely. Seems to live in the middle of nowhere. I don't know, I've forgotten. Doesn't do anything, doesn't clean his house, doesn't clean himself. Has let himself go, i.e. he's a little bit chubby now. I respect that. Live your life, my guy. Also, he hasn't been in contact with Yelena in like a year. And she didn't even realize a year had gone past. I think that's how fucking depressed she is. She's like lost track of time. And also that hurts her feelings more, because it's like, okay, if you really wanted to, you want to play act as father to me. I haven't heard from you in a fucking year, you fucking shitbag. Bob. our main man, Bob, the guy, the myth, the legend, the void, the Project Sentry. You know, he's just literally accidentally woken up from some kind of sleep. We don't know when he was put in there. It is not specifically stated anywhere. But like the reason he even got to this place where he had been put in some kind of coma slash asleep slash frozen, I don't know, something incubated, I guess. He was in a really bad place and had a really shitty life before that. Abusive father, got hooked on drugs, unfortunately, was on meth for a period of time, a long list of shitty jobs, and like doing this clinical study was basically either going to be his way out into a new life or just a way to get some drugs for now. And you know, he's woken up in the middle of these other guys fighting each other. He has no idea what's going on. He seems to be the only one without powers, and then proceeds to accidentally realize he has a bunch. And he's bipolar. And that's kind of half of how like his powers now work, is that, you know, when he is elated, when he is in that manic episode, he is Sentry. When he is in a depressive episode, he can become the Void. Yeah, so like we've gotten all of these people's backstories in like quite a bit of detail. We've seen a lot of their backstories. The only one we didn't really get that much from is Ava, who, like, the only thing that they say also, she's a chronic illness babe, a chronically ill babe. That's the only bit of information I feel like we got about her past, is that the reason why she's in this fucking suit is so that her body doesn't just disintegrate. I'm like, slay. Me too. Me too. Same. It's me. Also, she's British. She's British. And also a sarcastic, in like a positive way, meant positively, because I love sarcastic characters. Her and Yelena have like very similar vibes. Love that. They bounce off each other when they're bullying John Walker. But like the point I was going to make before I then sort of went into everybody's, you know, they're all in like shitty places in life, is that like Yelena and Bob's relationship in this film, obviously for one, is like partly like the center of the plot, but it shows like an awareness Yelena has that maybe the others don't have yet, if at all, if ever, because, you know, she notices those things about him. She notices small things around her. More reasons why I love her autism. She notices when he says something a little bit weird or brushes something off that you know, doesn't, you know, didn't need to be brushed off. And she again is the one who kind of goes against the typical expectation of, I mean, superheroes in general, but also in particular because these guys are kind of not superheroes yet. Most of them have never been superheroes or only briefly superheroes. Most of them are technically the bad guy, particularly from like an American lens. Alexei probably wouldn't have been seen as the bad guys of Russia, you know? Alexei being the red dwarf, red mountain, iron brute. No, I can't remember what his thing is called. The red something. Whoever he was, whoever he was saving people. He was defending his people in that role, and that gave him purpose. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways this film is just about finding your purpose. Yay! And community, relying on your community when you are big depresso. And also, you're not in it alone. You're not the only one who feels like shit. It's okay, guys. We're all depressed. You're depressed? Oh, me too. Same. It just feels a lot more human and relatable and funny in like a real dark humor kind of way, where you're like, oh, these people are not well. These people make the same kind of jokes I make. These people probably need to be watched for 24 hours, you know? You know, these people probably need to get on some antidepressants kind of vibes, or some stimulants, either one of the two. And how, like, even though they were all meant to be enemies or vaguely co-workers in, you know, Alexei and Yelena's case, nothing nothing in Bob's case. Nothing in Bob's case. He was supposed to be dead. That's why he was in there. They thought he was dead. Fuck me up, bruh. Fuck me up. Even though they didn't necessarily like each other right away, maybe found each other annoying or a bit of a burden compared to, like, you know, they're used to working alone. They're used to not having people around them. The idea of that you can grow to like people, grow to understand people, and actually kind of end up having your own weirdly dysfunctional non-biological family, all because of a happy accident that led you to meeting those people in the right way at the right time. And I think that's all goes off into as well, like how they all ended up being the new Avengers, because that was the whole point. They were like trying to, like, that lady was trying to kill all of these people because they were loose ends to her, that like they weren't worth anything. The moral of the story is, even if other people don't see your worth, you do have worth. Fuck them. You know, but yeah, they all, well, we're as I said, we're seeing this mainly through Yelena's point of view, but Yelena starts to see a way out, I guess. There's something that she has to do something about her life to finally start feeling like it's worth living, especially after losing her sister, who she had lost for many years, then found again, and then lost again immediately. And then she disappeared / died. So, you know, like, all of these things are why I did really like this film, and why I will probably be watching the following films in the series, and basically anything with Yelena in it, because I fucking love her. Yeah, I feel like the pacing was just a bit all over the place. Like, I think initially at the start, it was fine, made sense. Everyone met. Bob got gunned down. But he's fine, he wasn't dead because he's basically a god by accident. It's sort of that section. From them escaping that to then meeting Bob again, and Bob being Sentry. Also, Bob being excruciatingly malleable mentally. Like, I know that's kind of part of his character, is that he's just kind of like a pushover. But it didn't really make a lot of sense to me why he would go along with a lot of what she said or did or encouraged him to do, particularly when he saw, you know, these people as his friends and saw them as people he liked and who treated him nicely and treated him well and actually helped him escape. Obviously, it was good that he, like, did kind of kick off at that lady when she was like, kill them. He was like, no, they're literally not a threat to me. No, I'm not going to kill them. Fuck you. So then suddenly it being the void. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that bit kind of went too quickly from Sentry to Void. And I feel like we could have spent a bit longer in Void, because there's that bit between those two things where, what the fuck exploded? Something exploded. I did literally watch this 2 days ago. My brain don't work. You know, something exploded. The city was falling apart. Can't remember whose fault it was, but that's happening. So then everyone's like working together to save the people, even though they aren't superheroes. They're just like people with a conscience, you know. Which again is an element I like. I like morally not straightforward people, whether it was their choice or not. They are interesting characters, particularly when they do have that development. You know, they all didn't even like think about it for a second. They were just like saving people. And then, yeah, they go into the void. I feel like we could have spent more time in the void and seeing some of these other people's void scenes, or, like, you know, at least have a little bit of other people's void scenes. Because, like, I know we are centering Yelena and Bob, basically. That they're the sort of like two main characters of this film. But it wouldn't have hurt to have like a little sprinkling of, you know, like when they all entered the void, seeing them at different points trying to get to where Yelena and Bob are. Like I said, we only know like really small amounts for Ava. I don't think we had a single flashback for Ava in this film. I don't remember if we had flashbacks for Alexei, but he's been in a different film with Yelena, so we got history already in that film in particular. He's also mainly comedic value more than anything else anyway, and he's definitely more of like an obvious example of educating a morally grey, morally bad character into becoming a better person. Like he's kind of the for dummies guide version of the other plots we're seeing with the other characters, because he's a lot more overt with some of his thoughts and feelings about certain topics. What was my point? I was making like a really good point there until I got distracted. Oh yeah, so even if we didn't really get anything for him, we kind of did as well, because we saw things for Yelena, which is also things that he is / should be concerned about or by. You know, if he really does love and care for Yelena in the way that he says he does, these things impacting her are things that he should care about, which we do have this really sweet moment between the two of them where she is telling him, like, I'm really fucking depressed, man. Like, my life is shit. All I do is go home, scroll on my phone. And he's like, I love you, or some shit. I can't remember like what exactly happened. You know, we see a lot of Bob's past, obviously in the void, but also discussed. And he is Project Sentry, or he's the only surviving person of Project Sentry. We see John Walker's past. We see his child and his, I'm assuming, ex-wife, as well as like talking a little bit about it. But we don't see anything like that for Ava. With Bucky, we see him being miserable as a politician. Obviously, he's had a show, I think. He's been in a show. So there is history that people can go and watch. Like, I would have liked to have seen some of his scenes, because I've not seen anything with him in it before. Like I was just saying, I know I can go and look at or watch whatever those things were, but I would have really just liked a little sprinkle or something there. But also we do see him trying to convince our villain's right hand lady to dob her in, basically. And yeah, seeing Yelena doing these things that are not only out of the box for superheroes to be doing, you know, not actively fighting necessarily to solve the problems she has. She's open to collaborating with people, particularly people who shouldn't be trusted, people who are not considered good people, whether that's to her or other people, you know, her own direct competition. She was there to kill Ava, but she's willing to trust in other people in a way that I don't feel like other superheroes do. Or it feels vaguely similar to some of the Spider-Man films, that he occasionally is sometimes the only person who will trust a villain when they say something, because he also usually knows those villains as well. Good parallel. Like, I feel like a lot of the times, yeah, Peter Parker in particular, but also probably in the multiverse, can't remember, his villains are usually people he has actually already known as a normal person at some point. You know, there was Harry Osborn, his dad, Dr. Oct, that was someone he knew beforehand as well. I can't remember who it was. And then the other lizard guy was someone he worked for as well. I'm trying to think of anything else, but I can't remember. So like, he already inherently would see the humanity of these bad people because he already knew them as normal people. And he knew as well a lot of the times their original purpose, their original motivations were good motivations. But something happened along the way, they got lost or they got infected with something. In a similar way to what happened to him, is that what he was bitten by a spider by accident, basically. Some of those things that came out of some of these experiments were accidents that weren't planned. Oh, the sand guy, the Sandman. Can't remember if he knew him before or not, but he appeals to their humanity. So like, I feel like that's something similar that Yelena does with the people that she is now going to be working with, who are all, you know, considered bad people. She can understand the humanity. It exists in these people because it exists in her. You know, people would see her actions and automatically think you're a terrible person. You know, even though you were brainwashed for a large part of this, you've carried on being a mercenary by choice, even though, like I said earlier, there wasn't really a choice for her. She's had no other options for what she can go. Like, how is she going to walk into a fucking office job? She probably doesn't even technically legally exist. You know? So yeah, like the way she sees people's humanity, notices those small moments that nobody else really notices, and that's how they win. Is they all realize that Bob is, you know, he's gone too far. He's beating the shit out of the Void. This is actually what the Void wants. So the way she wins is by going and hugging him, and that's when the others as well are like, she's got a good idea there. Actually, let's all just go hug this guy. So with the power of friendship, New York City is saved once again, and everybody is returned from the Void, and now we have the new Avengers. And that's all Yelena wanted anyway. She wanted something more front-facing. She wanted something that was actually going to do good, something that gave her purpose. And I think in a lot of ways she saved everybody else there too, who were all in similar positions to herself, to Bob. A lot of these people, you know, have been experimented on, or been treated really badly, or been used as props of some kind by good and bad people, supposedly, you know, like the supposedly good people. And yeah, so like, whilst I feel like there was definitely just something funky with the pacing and how they put the plot together for this film, I had a really good time. I had a good time, you know, I had a great time. I enjoyed myself watching it again at home. I think these characters are a lot funnier. I think, you know, morally grey slash bad characters tend to have better senses of humour. I found them funnier than most of the other shows that I've watched. And yeah, I just enjoyed how those characters were interacting with each other. And I look forward to watching what comes next. However, give Ava the screen time she deserves. Thank you. Everything hurts. Oh, my jaw hurts. So yeah, that was my talky review slash thoughts of Thunderbolts. Don't forget to go and watch another video. It supports the channel. Can't think what to tell you to watch though. You can go and watch my last video, I guess. It's a long one. You can play it in the background, but like, I did like a recap of My Life with the Walter Boys season 1 because it's genuinely ridiculous. And the next season came out when I posted the video. So if you want to laugh at a really silly show, that one's a good one. So if you watch that video, you really help support my channel with the watch time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of Thunderbolts if you've watched that, or any of the other films I've mentioned that I've talked about that are superhero-esque. Let me know if you want to hear me talk about any of those other films or TV shows I've been kind of referencing in this one, superhero specific. Like I said, I wanted to do something about Spider-Man, and I just don't know what. I want to just talk about how they are all autistic ADHD for like 3 hours, but like there's only so much you can say on that, really. It's all the same show over and over again. But yeah, either way, thanks for watching my video. That's it for this week, and I will see you next week. Bye.